Economics and Women's and Gender Studies here at Williams. I teach in a field, economics, where both women and underrepresented minorities are a lot less likely to be comfortable. So one of the things I've thought about a lot in terms of my teaching is how to foster inclusivity in my classroom. And this can be a bit tricky, I think, especially in economics, because we rely really heavily on the lecture format for most of our required courses. Lectures are a very good way, a very efficient way of providing a lot of information to a lot of students. But I think it's pretty clear that lectures work really well for a particular type of students, but that students, and even students here at Williams, do have a broader variety of learning styles. Some students learn really well in lectures. Some learn more effectively in more collaborative settings, so when working in groups or as part of a team. And I think there's some evidence that suggests that there might be gender or racial differences in learning styles. So I feel strongly that classes that, even within a big lecture format, can draw in a variety of teaching styles are going to be more likely to increase student performance as well as diversity. So there's some really interesting research in economics about inverted classrooms, where events that traditionally take place inside of the classroom are now done outside of the classroom and vice versa. So things like students come having read materials in advance, they're prepared to ask questions about the material, they have a little bit of a discussion about that material at the beginning of class, and then that's followed by some sort of economic experiment or lab activity that's used to illustrate principles of economics. And these types of classroom activities usually are group activities. Students could work together on difficult review questions and then present results to the class. And it seems like this type of inverted classroom, at least from the evidence in economics, really can increase the amount that students take away from a lecture class if they're more actively engaged in the classroom environment. This is a big departure from what we traditionally do in economics. People talk about chalk and talk being sort of the straight lecture format, where I'm standing up in front of a classroom and writing on the board and conveying information to the students, as opposed to having it be more give and take and more back and forth. But I've really been trying to incorporate more active learning and group activities into the lectures, and I think that really actually helps. One thing you could do is design small group activities that test students' understanding of concepts and their ability to apply them, have them work in groups, and then present back to the group as a whole. And this has worked really well, and I'm trying to incorporate more of this in the future. In addition, there's a couple of other things that are smaller that don't have as much to do with content, but I think that actually can really make a difference in terms of how students feel in the classroom, and that could set the stage for stronger academic work. There's some evidence that suggests that a warm-up activity early in the semester where students get to know each other and the professor can help students feel more comfortable in the classroom and can actually help aid their learning. And I think that the other thing that new professors need to be aware of is just the importance of student confidence, that students come into our classroom with a wide range of levels of confidence. Some students come in with lots of confidence, and some students come in with a lot less confidence. So just keeping this in mind in terms of dealing with students, reinforcing students' progress as they're improving in a subject, making clear that you see that they're improving. The other thing that I think is really important, particularly for new faculty to be aware of, is that our students come in here with a wide range of confidence levels. Some students come in and they're very self-assured and very confident, and they're not going to need as much encouraging. There are other students who come in with much lower levels of confidence, particularly related to the material and to academic understanding, and even to understanding how institutions like Williams work. So I think this is important in a couple of different ways. It's important if you have students who are struggling, but who are working really, really hard to it's important for faculty to reinforce that, to show that you recognize that students are working really hard and that they've, if they're improving their understanding of the material, to really reinforce that in some positive ways. The other thing that can be, I think, equally as important is there are students who might be really good in a particular subject, but never really thought of themselves as being someone who would study that subject. This happens in economics all of the time. Women, in particular, female students, are less likely to envision themselves as the type of person who would study economics. So sometimes just encouraging a student, asking the question, I think you're really good at this. Have you considered majoring in subject X? Or have you considered taking a subsequent class in this topic? I think you have a talent for the material, can actually really make a difference in terms of how students view themselves and the type of subsequent path they